are back. Fit for Life Radio, another edition here with Coach Will. I am your host, Coach Gary. We are going to be just the duo tag teaming it up today.
Tag team champs.
Tag team champs. What we're going to do, we're going to keep it short today. We want to kind of hit y'all with a good topic and just kind of keep it real simple so you get the topic and some action steps now that we're into February here. So the January motivation, what do you think, Will? Like, that's probably the easiest time to be most motivated, right?
For the most part. Like beginning of the year and 6 months before a wedding. Like those are the motivation times.
Or 1 week after breaking up with someone.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, that'll get you.
Those are normally like the big three. So, but speaking on that, on what we've kind of talked about this before, is motivation and how ultimately it isn't. A lot of people think they need motivation, and then they lose motivation, and then they search for motivation. But what you're not realizing is you're actually, like we kind of call it, it's a motivation loop, which is ultimately the yo-yoing loop that people find themselves on. You know, You're actually, a lot of us actually create that habit, and almost by going and then searching for motivation, you're literally just starting that loop over and over, of failing again, because you will eventually lose motivation. You know, and then you'll fall off, and then you'll search for motivation, and it's just this endless cycle of yo-yoing. You know, for most people, it happens. You know, beginning of the year, January, super motivated, fall off, motivation dies. And you kind of have nothing to fall back on until you eventually search and, again, find that motivation. Maybe eventually the weather gets warmer, so you get a little motivated again. Or Will said, you're getting married or just something like that. Or something bad happens and you have to go to the doctor, and, you know, that's actually past the early life stages of looking good at the beach, getting married. That's probably a common one, you think, Will?
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's probably the most common one right there.
Yeah, especially guys over 40 or 50, the only reason they're ever going to come work out at that point, if they haven't been doing it, is they have a heart attack.
Yeah, exactly. Or their doctor's like, hey, you're going to die in 10 years if you don't do something, and, you know, that'll get you kick-started. Yeah, and I think it's just remembering motivation is it runs out. It's not an infinite resource, and it's not what you should use to keep yourself going. You shouldn't rely on it. It might kickstart you a little bit into better habits, but if you rely completely on that, then you're just going to keep falling on your face every time you get motivated, you know, instead of kind of, you know, getting yourself better and finding another place to draw from, rather than external motivation, oh, I saw this cool video, or, you know, I looked at myself in the mirror and you know, I wish I was thinner, whatever it may be. That runs out, and then you end up doing it over again. So,
yep. And ultimately, what you want to do to break that motivation loop is, it sounds hokey, but you have to find a deeper purpose and reasoning, you know, for doing all this. And luckily, it's pretty simple. It's, you know, exercise and being leaner and healthier gives you a better quality of life. It is healthier. You will age better. You will be able to be there for the people you care about the most longer. So, you know, finding those reasons is probably step one. You know, a real purpose, so that when your motivation's low, it doesn't matter, because these, you know, long-term purposeful goals you have are more important than, you know, being lazy for a day, or kind of not being motivated.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that you think of when motivations run dry, and you're like, man, I really want to eat this whole cake. And then, you know, you have that deeper purpose. You're like, you know what? Nah, I don't need to do that. And for a lot of people, it's something you know, I just want to be able to play with my kids and not get out of breath. Or I actually just want to be able to play with my kids and be active with them and things like that. That's a really common one, but I feel it's a really powerful one, because that really keeps people going, you know, to want to be able to do stuff with their kids and for their kids. So that's one of them that I see often enough, but like it always really pumps me up because I know people are going to do well when that's kind of their intrinsic motivation.
Yeah, I mean, and compare it to going to work, right? Like, why, no one's motivated to go to work every day, but most people go, and it's because you get paid, and then you can have, support your family and the people you care about the most. So that is, a deeper purpose, and it's the perfect example of how, motivation is not required to show up and do something,
Yep.
So that's how you have to look at, exercise and eating better is what is that future you getting out of it, not the current you. So the easiest way to do that is, as far as, what you want to focus on, is your environment and your behaviors. You have to make certain things habit to make it all easier, especially during those times of low and lacking motivation.
So why don't we go into like some like simple habits that usually have like a really good carryover, like what would be a good foundation for people to build on, so they don't keep falling into the motivation loop.
So I think for one is, you could argue that nutrition is, the most important for actually like making body change and like the true kind of underpin of it all. But what we found is ultimately, if you're not exercising consistently, moving, you won't. It would be even harder to be motivated to eat better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and that's like, I feel like, we used to feel like, nutrition was top dog, but when people weren't showing up, they were just way less likely to be consistent with nutrition. And so, both of those kind of go hand in hand. And for a lot of people, going to the gym or doing something physical, I don't care if it's like rock climbing or you go for a walk every day, whatever, like that's the catalyst for a lot of people to eat well. Because if you're not doing anything, I feel like you don't have like the need to fuel yourself or eat something, like that's positive for you if you're not doing anything. Like if you're not walking and you just sit around the house all day, why are you eating this, good stuff, this good fuel, this, good food? Like I'm not doing anything physical. So I feel like that's probably the number one thing, is just start moving somehow. Like I said, it could be going for a walk every day.
Yep.
Or 3 days a week. It doesn't have to be every day. It could be 3 days a week, and then, work yourself up, but do something. Racquetball, I don't care. Go swimming, whatever. So that would be, step one. Do something. We like lifting weights because it has a nice positive effect on metabolism. Everybody could benefit from being stronger, physically and mentally, and that comes from training in the gym. So like some type of resistance training is pretty key, and I think often overlooked as something that everybody should be able to do. So that's why personally, we recommend it, and we also believe in it big time. That's why it's our job. So get out and do something.
And the key is it has to be something that you're going to do consistently, and
Yep.
I know for me, in the past when I used to work at like a Globo type gym, and then I owned little 24-hour gyms, and ultimately my heart eventually wasn't in it because it just doesn't work for most people, like 90% of people, because they just don't show up. There's no, so for most people it's boring, right? So that's why, for a lot of people, like having a trainer or a group style type gym works, because, when you don't show and someone's, bugging you or pulling you and making you show up. So if you're someone who needs that nudge, like it's not because you're mentally weak or anything. That's actually how most people are. So, it needs to be something you enjoy and will show up for consistently. So once you have that down, then you can kind of expand to, okay, like, improving your nutrition, like looking at your lifestyle behaviors. And for one, the easiest one is, like, what is your environment? Like, when you're at home, what's your food environment? Do you have snacks everywhere? Like, do you have little jars right by your couch, within arm's reach? If you do, you're just making things harder for yourself. You're just setting yourself up for failure, basically, because you're more than likely going to reach for it. But if you put it out of arm's length, or if you take it out of the house, like, you will eat less of whatever that is,
Dude,
so that's
yes.
setting up your environment for success.
That's like the biggest one, like personally. It for me is like, yeah, it's the environment. It's not having stuff in the house or it's like around me, right before we cut on, we were talking about how, like, if there's a cake in the house, like, I'm gonna eat the freaking cake, and that's just how I am. But otherwise, like, if it's not there and I have my meals prepped, like, I'm good to go. I can go out to eat and not eat something and all that. But if it's just like staring at me in the house, especially like with my schedule of not technically having to be at the gym until 2:30, 3 p.m. If I don't want to that day, and I want to work at home or whatever. So if there's like cookies that are just calling my name from the cupboard, dude, I'm hard pressed to not eventually go get a cookie.
Yep.
And so clean up the environment, don't have them there, and just have like your meals prepped, and that's it. Eat what's there, and then when you're done, you're done.
Yeah, and ultimately just kind of crossing that bridge from knowledge to your environment and taking action. Like everyone knows at this point, like that, yeah, drinking a bunch of sodas is empty calories and is going to kind of work against our goals of being healthy, lean, and fit, right? So, but I think a lot of people feel good about knowing stuff, like they've kind of like accomplished something.
If you know me, I'm always on the run, up early and home late. So having a 3-hour morning routine isn't really in the cards for me. What is in the cards is AG1. It's a fast way to get vitamins and minerals I need to perform. I first gave AG1 a try because I wanted a single solution that helps support my entire body by filling in nutrient gaps and simplifying my morning routine. Since drinking AG1 daily, I've always felt strong and energized and ready to attack the day. Not only does AG1 deliver my daily dose of vitamins, minerals, pre- and probiotics, and more, it's a powerful, healthy habit that's also powerfully simple. It's one scoop mixed in water once a day and every day. I know that AG1 is giving my body high-quality nutrition. Every batch of AG1 goes through a rigorous testing process, so you know that it's safe. And AG1 ingredients are sourced for absorption, potency, and nutrition density. AG1 is a supplement that I trust to provide the support my body needs daily, and that's why I'm excited to welcome them as a new partner. Here is your chance to start every day this season with a gift to yourself. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase exclusively at drinkag1.com/provengrit. That's drinkag1.com/provengrit. Check it out. If you know me, I'm always on the run, up early and home late. So having a 3-hour morning routine isn't really in the cards for me. What is in the cards is AG1. It's a fast way to get vitamins and minerals I need to perform. I first gave AG1 a try because I wanted a single solution that helps support my entire body by filling in nutrient gaps and simplifying my morning routine. Since drinking AG1 daily, I've always felt strong and energized and ready to attack the day. Not only does AG1 deliver my daily dose of vitamins, minerals, pre- and probiotics, and more, it's a powerful, healthy habit that's also powerfully simple. It's one scoop mixed in water once a day and every day. I know that AG1 is giving my body high-quality nutrition. Every batch of AG1 goes through a rigorous testing process, so you know that it's safe. And AG1 ingredients are sourced for absorption, potency, and nutrition density. AG1 is a supplement that I trust to provide the support my body needs daily, and that's why I'm excited to welcome them as a new partner. Here is your chance to start every day this season with a gift to yourself. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase exclusively at drinkag1.com/provengrit. That's drinkag1.com/provengrit. Check it out.
Yeah.
So, but it's understanding like, hey, eventually, if you're drinking 10 sodas a day and you shouldn't be drinking any, but you just can't go cold turkey, that's fine. But like, maybe if you take the sodas out of your house and now you're only drinking 3 a day, from work, like that's a victory,
Mm-hmm.
Even though it's not perfect, that's fine. And you may not be motivated to cut out those 3, but for now, just make some kind of small strides, and that in itself, that action taking will provide you motivation.
Yep.
Like you don't need to go looking for it. Like when you take action, it kind of almost builds in the motivation.
Yeah, like you build on it. Like, damn, I haven't had any soda at home for like 4 weeks. Like,
Yep.
dude, that makes people feel good. Like they accomplished something.
And when you accomplish that, you're gonna then be like, oh, I can cut it out at work.
Yeah.
Whereas 2 weeks ago, maybe you had no interest in doing that whatsoever.
Exactly. And that builds, man. Like that positive, like I guess we could call it momentum. As you're making change and doing things better, like you get more confident in yourself and like the things that you can do. Like when people make it to the gym 3 days a week, and like that's their only goal is like, I just want to make it there. And then like once they do that, like, oh shit, like I can do this. And then they start to set better goals. Like, man, I just want to keep getting stronger. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to do a pull up. Like that's how you make change. Like make a little change, build on it, be proud of that, make a little change beyond that, and then just continue that, and then, like you're a new person when you just keep making those little tiny steps to bettering yourself.
Yep. And it all comes from within. Like you have it. Like you don't need, in the classic sense, motivation from the outside. You don't need to watch the Rocky, theme every time you're about to go work out.
No.
Like
No, not at all. Like, and that even runs out too. Like, well, what happens if you watch it every day for a month and then it does nothing for you, doesn't pump you up at all? Well, like then you got to go find something else that's probably harder to pump you up. So like looking for that, just it doesn't work, man. It's just like we can equate it to like caffeine. Use caffeine every day, like sooner or later, like your dose has to go up until it's just unreasonable. So, and that's an external source. People get fired up from their pre-workouts and they feel like, like this feels good. But then, well, what happens when you need a scoop and a half and then you need 2 scoops? And so, yeah, like that's relying on something that's unreliable.
Yep. And then even taking it a step further is, when people do get fired up and motivated, that's when they want to do all the tip of the iceberg stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to eat the perfect foods and the perfect like specific fad diet, and I want to go to the gym 6 days a week, and I want to do this. But then they have no foundation. The bottom of the pyramid.
Yes.
They don't really shop consistently for groceries. They don't really prepare the foods well so that they're set up for success. And it's just like flip-flopped, right? So then what happens is like, you go hard for a short amount of time and then crash and burn.
Yeah, then you fizzle every time.
And then you're definitely unmotivated because you just failed.
Yep.
Failing will cause, you to be unmotivated. Whereas if you start small and build that base, like you're going to get these little victories that again, like you create your own momentum. Mm-hmm. And then eventually you are, you have that momentum, you have that base to fall back on. So even at times where maybe you are dialed in perfectly and then you fall back a little, you don't fall back to nothingness. You fall back to like your base habits of, oh, well, I meal prep every Sunday and I, only shop for the foods on my list. So you never fall off, you just kind of step back, and then eventually maybe you see yourself through that storm of busyness or whatever got you to step back, and then you just calmly step back forward again,
Yep. Yeah. It's like, the same thing as like turning the dial a little bit. Like if you're normally at like a 7 and then life gets crazy, well, turn yourself down to a 4, but you still have, the habits that are 1 through 4 to get you through it. And then you turn it back up and that's it. And you're good. Like that's how it was for me. Like when we were moving the gym and I was just probably doing too much work and whatever, like at bare minimum, like I got my protein in and some veggies at every meal, and that was really all I was concerned about. But I still had those base habits to fall back on, and like I was okay. And then, life went on, and I stepped it back up, and yeah, now I'm good. So like that happens to everybody. No one's immune to it. People are always gonna have to turn the dial up and down, and that's just the way life is. But it's being able to turn the dial instead of like breaking the dial off. And that's what happens to a lot of people. Like they turn it up real high, and then if they can't stay there, they just break it off and go home, rather than just turning it down a little bit.
It's another good hip hop song.
Yeah.
Breaking the dial off.
Breaking the dial off.
We can add that to our album list.
Yeah, we got it.
So I think the key takeaway for people is, first, like, don't go looking for motivation. Like, just create it through your action, through focusing on your behaviors and your habits, and that is gonna along the way give you the motivation you need.
Yep. Yeah, I think like that's the best way to do it, Like, so if we want to boil it down, like bullet point takeaways, one, like find some intrinsic motivation. Like find a purpose. Why do I even want to do this? Like for some people, like I talked about, it might be like, I just want to play with my kids. I want to be alive when my kids get older, if you're in pretty poor health. Or like, one dude, I won't mention any names, but the reason he started training was because he felt like he was the one sabotaging his wife's progress. And he was like, dude, like, I feel like I'm just fucking it up for her and I want to be better. Like that, for one, is like a really awesome thing. But like, that was his motivation. Like he wanted to be better for her and, their kids. And that's, I think, what drives them. And I think that's rad. I think it's a cool change to make, but you kind of have to have that purpose to be able to weather the storm. And the purpose could be, I just want to feel better. It doesn't have to be anything crazy or deep, but there has to be something there to fall back on.
Yep. And then after that, it's then just understanding that you're probably better off with a bunch of little victories, And so can you just start focusing on getting your breakfast straight? Do you normally kind of grab a pastry at Wawa with your coffee? Well, then you can change that to, boiling some eggs ahead of time and having that with a piece of fruit,
Yep.
And slowly, work on that habit and changing that. But for some people, it might be, well, I don't even have eggs and fruit in my house. Okay, well, then you need to start, like, grocery shopping for the right foods on the weekend. Like, start there,
Yep.
Then build that habit, then move on, That's how you build, success and kind of that intrinsic motivation. And people don't like to hear it, like it's not exciting or sexy, like grocery shopping.
Not.
I can do that already. Well, then show me. Why aren't you? Are you?
Yeah.
Like if I went to your house right now, would I see like, all the lean proteins and fruits and veggies and not many snacks and stuff, or would it, like what would it look like? So you have to be honest with yourself. Even if you know more, even if you know the advanced stuff, like knowledge is great to a point, but are you taking action on it?
Yeah, like you can know everything in the world and not. Most people know, like, man, I shouldn't eat chips and I should probably have like some fruits or veggies as a snack. If you are eating a snack or whatever, like maybe I shouldn't have 4 Dr. Peppers a day, but people still do it. You know you're not supposed to or you shouldn't. So yeah, knowledge doesn't really mean a whole lot when you can't use any of it to take action.
Yep. So,
like you're better off being like the person who like knows nothing and just kind of like does what they're told. Or just like knows nothing and wings it, but does the best they can, like thinking they're doing well instead of just kind of not taking any action.
Mm-hmm. And it's if you ever feel frustrated, like with your fitness and this stuff, just kind of compare it to other parts of life. Like your finances and like we talked about how work. Comparing it to work. Well, you're not always motivated for work, but you still go because you have this like deep purpose for going. So you'll see it in every area of life. So it's just not kind of like making it more like, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of like unattainable than it really. It's not. It's attainable for everyone.
Yep.
Like that look of being motivated all the time. But that's when. But it only comes when you're not looking for motivation. If that makes sense.
Ooh. That does make sense.
Like people probably think you or me are motivated to work out all the time, and I would say half the time I don't want to go. But it's just. But hey. 10:30 hits, like I go to the gym. Like it's just a habit,
Exactly.
Like no matter if lead 20 minutes up to it, I was like, I don't want to go, and I'm having these trying to talk myself out of it. It doesn't matter. Like I just go, you know. So
Because it's an appointment, you got to do it.
yeah. So and that's what people don't. That's what you don't see on Instagram, you know. And social
Yeah,
media.
all you see is like hashtag beast mode.
Yeah.
But you don't see like how most people, like we all have days where we're like, damn, I do not feel like doing anything. I don't feel like going to lifting weights. I don't want to overhead press. Like, yeah, we all go through it, but we still do it because we know you need to.
Yep. So yeah. So you're not alone in being unmotivated. It's okay. It's normal. It's going to happen. In fact, looking for motivation might be why you yo-yo. Like it literally becomes a habit loop that you create. So you just have to break that habit loop by not looking for motivation from the outside, focusing on getting those little victories, changing your behaviors, changing your habits, and next thing you know, you're creating that momentum from within.
Yep. So, point blank, eat your protein, go grocery shopping,
There it
and then
is.
go to the gym. There we go.
If you haven't
Be
mastered
good.
that, master those things first, then ask us about the keto diet or
Carb cycling
or all
or-
that. But
Yeah.
all right, I think that's good.
Yeah, just a quick little something before we start ranting about orange juice again.
We just want to hit y'all with that here in February, since we know, for a lot of people that January motivation's fading, and so it's important to just understand like that's normal. Like let it fade, but then where do you need to put your mental and physical efforts? And it's on not looking for more motivation, but again working on those things we talked about.
Yep, exactly. So, yeah, stay tuned. We got 2 dope guests coming up the next 2 weeks. 2 awesome ladies who are freaking killers in and out of the gym. So, stay tuned.
All right, holla back.
Later.